Let's start our presentation on the key provisions on corporate tax registration and the practical challenges faced with respect to CT registration. Although it is a very simple process and it is very transparent process, but still there are few challenges that we have practically observed. And today I would like to discuss all those challenges along with few examples so that it is crystal clear how we can do the corporate tax registration well ahead of time to avoid the penalties. So today we have broadly four topics. Just to give the brief about CT overview, we will not take much of time to discuss the overview because we have 45 to 50 minutes to conclude about CT registration. Then we'll discuss provision. What are the provisions of law with respect to CT registration? Mainly how we can register, who needs to be registered, and the focal provision and when needs to be registered. So three questions are there with respect to provision: who needs to be registered, when needs to be registered, and how needs to be registered, how we can register. Then corporate tax registration process. What is the process? We will go through the Imara Tax portal as well. We have some screenshots and we'll discuss the process as well. And then the practical challenges which is there during which we have faced during the CT registration and obligation after CT registration, which is just what are the records need to be maintained. Now we all know CT is a form of direct tax, which is on the profit, which is called taxable income. So in UAE, the tax rate is 9%, as we all know, which is the lowest globally, I would say. And this is the reason this country is still tax. It's kind of there is no paradigm shift. I feel because people are saying there is a paradigm shift. There is a paradigm shift from tax heaven to tax country. But I still feel this is a tax heaven because 9% is nothing if you compare from other developed countries. So once we calculate our taxable income, we have to calculate 9% on the taxable income. Now, what is the reason for corporate tax in the UAE? So broadly, there are three reasons. There are three reasons. One is diversify revenue streams, which is, of course, UAE government is mainly dependent upon it's not only oil now, tourism as well. And there are a lot of taxes now applicable. One of them is VAT, one of them is corporate tax, and there are other revenue streams as well for compliances. So to diversify revenue streams, they have implemented corporate tax, but this is not one of the major reasons. The major reason is to promote the economic growth and also to remove UAE from the grey list. So that is also one of the reasons, and to meet the international standards of the developed countries and increase government revenue. So government revenue and diversify revenue streams, these are complementing to each other and promote economic growth as well. Now, what is the effective date for the corporate tax filing and payment? Within 9 months from the end of the financial year. So it's very simple. Once we submit the return, once we close the financial year, within we will get 9 months, which is fair enough. In countries like India, there is advanced tax payments as well. You have to calculate the taxes in advance and make the payment prior to the deadline. So in UAE, 9 months, it's there. It's. I mean, it's they have made it very simple, and they have given the benefit to all the companies so that they can receive the money from their debtors and pay it. So there is no impact on the cash flow mainly. This is the whole objective of this 9 months. So corporate tax return shall be filed and CT payment must be made within 9 months from the end of the financial year. Okay. Now we'll discuss the provisions related to CT registration, the focal provisions. As I mentioned, we have to see who are going to be registered, how it is going to be registered, how we will see the process, and what is the time frame to get the CT registration to avoid the penalty. Now, the first is who are required to be registered. So, as per Article 51 of Federal Decree Law Number 47, any taxable person shall register for CT with the authority in the form and manner and within the timeline prescribed by the authority and obtain a TRF. And the authority shall review the application and at its discretion provide the approval or provide questions. Now, taxable person, who are taxable person? Taxable person are resident person as well as non-resident person. Now the question comes whether exempt persons are required to be registered as well. So there are eight categories of exempt person. Out of eight categories, four are required to be registered and four are not required to be registered. So we'll discuss that as well. So three categories broadly comes under any taxable person. First is resident, second is non-resident, and third is there are selected exempt person. Let's discuss these three categories. So first is resident. Under resident, there are three categories: juridical person, incorporated or established in UAE. So mainly we are discussing now the time frame, because time frame is different for each category of resident, each category of non-resident, and exempt person is also, it's not different, but it is same like resident person. So we are going to discuss the time frame for each category. But before that, we need to know what is resident, who all are covered under resident, who all are covered under non-resident, and which specific selected exempt persons are required to be registered. So under resident, we have three categories: juridical person, any company which is incorporated in the UAE, whether it is mainland or free zone or designated zone or offshore companies. So it is very clear now. All the companies are required to be registered irrespective of the turnover. So it comes under first category. Second, under resident is juridical person incorporated or established outside the UAE, but POEM, place of effective management, which is controlled and managed in the UAE. So company is incorporated outside UAE. It's a foreign company. The company is in Japan. However, the management, which takes the strategic business decisions, are sitting in the UAE. They are based in the UAE. In such cases, they have to register in the UAE. It will be considered as resident juridical person. It is not non-resident, it is resident, although the company is outside UAE, but the controlled and managed in the UAE, place of active management in the UAE. Third category under resident, natural person who conduct business in the UAE and exceed 1 million turnover from the activities. Now, 1 million turnover excludes salary, real estate income, and personal investment. So 1 million dirham or more for natural person, you have to register. If you are turnover of less than 1 million, then no need to register. And you have to calculate this 1 million excluding these three revenue streams, as I mentioned. Second category, non-resident person. Under non-resident, there is a permanent establishment of foreign establishment, which means a branch of a foreign company. Permanent establishment is mainly the branch or a fixed establishment, which is in the UAE. So there is still ambiguity in this particular aspect, because the branch of a foreign company could be non-resident or resident. So I mean, we'll not go into detail for this topic. I mean, we'll discuss the time frame, but this is a separate topic altogether, wherein whether permanent establishment or a branch of a foreign company which is in mainland, for example, a company is in mainland which is having a legal type branch of a foreign company, will it be considered as non-resident and considered as permanent establishment? So it depends on other parameters as well. In my opinion, it shall be considered as resident person, but again subject to certain conditions. Derive state source income, which is mainly withholding taxes, wherein a non-resident is supplying goods to the UAE company, and the UAE company is going to deduct the withholding tax. However, as of now, withholding taxes are 0%. Has nexus in UAE, the third category. Mainly this point, nexus in UAE is mainly for the juridical person having immovable property in the UAE. Then they will be having nexus in the UAE broadly. Third category is exempt person. As I mentioned, out of eight category of exempt person, four exempt person are required to be registered, right? So the other four, I'll just explain which all other four are. There is government entity as well, which is under exempt person. There is government controlled entity. There is extractive business. There is non-extractive natural resource business. So these four categories are also under exempt persons, which are not required to be registered unless they conduct a business activities which are not under the definition of these exempt category, right? Yeah. So these four exempt person: qualifying public benefit entity, qualifying investment fund, pension and social security fund, and juridical person wholly owned and controlled by certain other exempt persons. These four categories we have to register. Okay. Now we know who are required to be registered. Now let's discuss when. What is the timeline for the registration? It's pretty straightforward for the juridical resident person, pretty straightforward, but there are certain questions where there is other categories. So first, let's discuss resident juridical person timeline. In subsequent slides, we have one chart also wherein we have all the categories of taxable person and time frame of each in one single slide. So we'll discuss once we complete the timeline so that we have that for revision. So a resident juridical person incorporated before 1st March. Now, because this cabinet decision for timeline for registration, I think this cabinet decision number three, if I'm not wrong, ministerial decision or cabinet decision number three, which was issued on 1st of March 2024. So that's why they have this particular date, which is before 1st March, the company which is incorporated before 1st March, and the company which is incorporated after 1st March 2024. So for the companies, resident juridical person, all the companies, as I mentioned, mainland, offshore companies, free zone, designated zone, which are incorporated before 1st March, shall require to apply for the registration as per the date of license issuance, irrespective of year of issuance. So we have to just see the month of that license issuance. That's it. So for January to February, the threshold, the timeline has already crossed. Now we are sitting in the month of August now. So 31st May, 30th June for March to April, May, then July. So you have to see for each month now, May, we have 2 months extra. So June and July, right? For June till August, for July till September, August to September, then 31st October. Then October to now again, there are 2 months bracket. So October to November, we have timeline till 30th November and 1st December, December month, 31st December. So these are the deadline for submitting tax registration application. Now, let's say there are two license, dual license. There are a lot of companies where juridical person has more than one license. Now, in such cases, the license with the earliest issuance date shall be used for calculation of the timeline. This is very important. It's not whichever is further. The date is far. No, we have to see the earliest date for in both of the licenses, and accordingly we'll calculate the timeline. There is other categories licensed before 1st March in case of poem in the UAE, which comes under second category of resident person. So 3 months from 1st March, which is 31st May 2024. So this is very important. So license before 1st March 2024 in case of poem, the deadline is 3 months from 1st March, which is 31st May 2024. Resident juridical person incorporated on or after 1st March. So the earlier slide was before 1st March, now it is after 1st March, shall submit the tax registration application within 3 months from the date of incorporation. So let's say the license is issued on the month of July, 1st July. So till July, August, till 30th September, we have a timeline to submit the corporate tax registration application with the FTA in case of resident juridical person. A person that is incorporated under the applicable legislation, so foreign jurisdiction that is effectively managed and controlled in the UAE, which is incorporated after 1st March, 3 months from the end of the financial year of the person. Straightforward. So there is no specific as per the license issuance, 3 months from the end of the financial year of the person. Now, this poem is altogether a different topic, place of effective management, when it is to be considered. Just we have to remember one thing: it is not necessary for the board members to be domiciled or resident in the UAE. This is very important to determine whether the place of effective management is in UAE. So if the strategic decisions are being taken in the UAE, they are flying from, let's say, Cayman Island to UAE. Although they are not resident of UAE, they are resident of Cayman Island. Every time they come to UAE, they have a board meeting in the UAE. Still, it will be considered as place of active management in the UAE. It is not necessary for the board members to be domiciled or resident in the UAE. This is most critical point, just to explain you place of active management. So where the decisions made by the ultimate decision makers are implemented or managed on a day-to-day basis. This is also another important aspect of this. Okay. Now we have discussed resident juridical person, three categories we have discussed. Now let's go to non-resident juridical person time frame. Before 1st March 2024 and after 1st March 2024. So first we'll discuss before 1st March 2024. A person that has a permanent establishment in the state 9 months from the date of existence of the permanent establishment. Now, this is actually confusing. This point is very confusing, because what is existence of permanent establishment? When it has been discovered that the permanent establishment has been existed in that particular country, in the UAE, I mean. So we will see there is one example for this particular aspect. We will discuss that. But yes, 9 months from the date of existence of permanent establishment. A person that has a nexus in the state, 3 months from the end of the financial year of the person. Now, nexus means if the person earns income from any immovable property in the state. Person means juridical person, not natural person. If natural person is earning any real estate income or income from immovable property, that is exempt. I mean, it is not applicable. Corporate tax is not applicable. But juridical person, that is a non-resident person, and it earns income from any immovable property in the state, then only nexus shall be created, and it start earning income from the property purchased in the UAE, in short. And first point, permanent establishment, will have one example in the next slide. We'll discuss that now. So this is critical, and we have to be very careful while determining the time frame for permanent establishment. Now, before we start this example, what are the conditions, I mean, to determine this part, existence of the permanent establishment? So we have to calculate this, right? 9 months from the date of existence of the permanent establishment. What is existence of permanent establishment? Now, PE is deemed to exist once the place of business has established a degree of permanence of 6 months in the UAE. So it is not when the company has been incorporated, it is 6 months from the company incorporated. So that is the 6 months they have given, because the degree of permanence will come only after 6 months. I mean, once the 6 months has been crossed. So deemed to exist, PE is deemed to exist once the place of business has established a degree of permanence of 6 months in the UAE. Of course, there are some other conditions, assuming all other requirements of PE are met, right? So in this particular example, company A scenario, the company A was incorporated on July 15, 2008 in Japan, right? And the financial year of the company A is 1 June 2000. Okay, anyway, not 2000, sorry, June 1 to May 31. And branch established in May 1, 2023. So their first year will be May 1, 2023, from May 1, 2023. Now, regulatory insights. Now, permanent establishment, company A's Dubai branch qualify as a permanent establishment under UAE corporate tax law. Corporate tax effective from June 1, 2023, right? Now, P, when the P is deemed to exist, as I mentioned, within after completion of 6 months, once the place of business has established a degree of permanence of 6 months, which is December 1, 2023, because the UAE branch established on May 1. From May 1, 6 months, December 1, 2023. Now, meeting the 6 month operational requirement. Now, what is the action required in this case? So, in accordance with decision number 3, a non-resident within, we have to register within 9 months, as per the previous slide. 9 months from the date of existence of the PE, and date of existence of PE is 6 months from the UAE branch established date, which is 6 months from May 1, 2023, which is December 1, 2023. From December 1 to 2023, 9 months, which is 1st September 2024, which is the effective date of registration. I mean, the maximum time frame. So, company UAE branch of company A must complete the registration maximum by 1st September 2024. Now, there are certain ambiguity with respect to this permanent establishment, whether permanent establishment in some cases will be part of, because there are certain companies, there is the decision making is here in the UAE. The company is just a branch as per the legal type of Cayman Island or British Virgin Island, right? However, they have independent directors, and they have a management in the UAE. Whether such companies will be considered as non-resident, for that matter, it's a food for thought question. Okay, now non-resident juridical person incorporated on or after 1st March 2024 shall submit the tax registration as per the below table. A person that has a PE in the state 6 months from the date of existence. So if The company UAE, let's say, branch is established in the month of, let's say, July 2024, and the PE will be existed in within 6 months time frame. Then we have to calculate 6 months from the existence of the PE. Instead of 9 months, it's 6 months now after 1st March 2024. A person that has a nexus in the state, 3 months from the end of the financial year. Now, the next category is natural person. What is the deadline for natural person? A natural person conducting a business. So it is straightforward in case of natural person. It is just 31st March of the subsequent calendar year. So first of all, for natural person, the financial year would always be January to December. There is no other financial year, right? So all for all the natural person, resident natural person, 31st March 2025 is the maximum time frame for CT registration. And of course, 1 million turnover must be there. Below 1 million turnover, resident natural person, there is no need for corporate tax registration. As I mentioned, 1 million calculation excludes free income, which is salary, personal investment income, and real estate income. Now, non-resident person who is conducting business during 2024 calendar year or subsequent years, again, whose turnover exceeds 1 million, 3 months from the date of meeting the requirements of being subject to tax. So we have to see whether we have to register. I mean, the taxable income is there in the UAE. If yes, the non-resident person has to register within 3 months from the date of meeting the requirements of being subject to tax. Moving on to next slide. So this is the chart wherein we have tried to explain the entire categories of taxable person and the time frame. This is mainly the crux of what we have discussed in earlier 4 or 5 slides. We can have a reading later on in case you have any questions, but this is the crux. So just I'll take 1 minute on this slide. So taxable person category, juridical and natural person. Under juridical, there are two categories, resident and non-resident. Under natural, two categories, resident, non-resident. Under resident, there are three categories. And under resident category, also foreign effectively managed, there are two categories, right? So first one is incorporated before 1st March, any company which is based on the license issuance. Then POEM, where POEM is in the UAE before 1 March, as we discussed. 31st May 2024, 3 months from the effective date of FTA decision, right? Incorporated after 1st March, 3 months from the end of its financial year. Very clear. And the third category is incorporated after 1st March, which is the juridical person mainly, 3 months from the date of incorporation. Clear. Then non-resident, we have again two categories, which is incorporated before 1st March, incorporated after 1st March. We discussed 9 months and 6 months respectively. 9 months from the date of existence of PA in PE in case of before 1st March, and 6 months from the date of existence of PE after 1st March. And in case of Nexus, 3 months from the effective date in case of before 1st March, and 3 months from the date of establishment of Nexus in case of after 1st March. So in such categories, we have to identify the existence of the PE. We have to identify the establishment of the nexus. So it could be established once the immovable property starts generating the income, or they have bought the property for that matter. And then natural person, it is resident or non-resident. Resident, as I mentioned, 31st March 2025 is the deadline for all the natural resident person, and for non-resident, 3 months from the date of meeting the requirements of being subject to tax. So this is all about who are required to be registered and when they are required to be registered. So ensure to submit the CT registration application time to avoid administrative penalties of 10,000 dirhams. Okay. Now we'll discuss about the process, a kind of a walkthrough wherein what is the process flow chart of CT registration and what needs to be done on the portal of Imara Tax. So this is the brief process of or a flow chart for the CT registration. So person applies for registration and submit the application form. This part we will discuss all the Imara Tax portal screenshots in the subsequent slides. Then FTA reviews the application registration form. FTA would either request for the additional information, or they will approve it, or they will reject it, right? There are three scenarios. So if they will approve it, then a registration notification is sent to the person and we can get the CT registration certificate. If they request for resubmission or additional information, the applicant shall provide the additional information, and then FTA shall review again and provide the approval or rejection again. But I mean, once they have resubmitted, if we have provided all the relevant information, there is no scope for rejection and it shall be approved within few days. FTA rejects the application and informs the applicant. In such cases, we need to see what is the reason for the rejection. We have seen specifically for natural person where the turnover is less than 1 million up to now. At the time of filing the application, they are rejecting the uh, CT applications. So this is the only case we have practically seen where the FTA has rejected the CT registration application. In all other circumstances, we have not faced practically any rejections. Yeah, in one more case, we have seen not rejection, a kind of a question they have asked. We'll discuss that in the challenges part. These are the key documents required. All the legal documents of the company, very basic documents are required. Trade license or certificate of incorporation, memorandum of association, as a part of the legal document of the company, then passport copy and Emirates ID of the shareholders and the authorized signatory. Now we have to see whether authorized signatory are the owners of the company or the manager of the company. Normally, in maximum cases, or either the POA holder, right? So we have to collect the passport copy, Emirates ID of the authorized signatory shareholders. If they are not UAE resident, then Emirates ID is an optional document, and proof of authorization of the authorized person, authorized signatory, which could be power of attorney or it could be mentioned in the MOA as well. Very basic documents. Now, just we'll discuss the steps in CT registration. I mean, step by step. Broadly, there are 4 sections. So let's log in into Emarat Tax Portal. Okay, this is the first step. You have to create the username and password, and then we can see the open the taxable person dashboard, and you have to click on the company name. Once you click on the company name, there is a tab called register under corporate tax registration. You will click to that particular corporate tax title within the taxable person dashboard, and then a screen will appear with the guidelines and instructions. You can read the guidelines and then mark the checkbox to confirm and click start the process. And then you will see the sections, and you have to fill all the sections step by step. So first section is entity details. So broadly there are 5 sections. First is entity details, and then second is identification details, third is contact details, fourth is authorized signatory details, and fifth is review and declaration. So it's a very simple application process. So entity details is mainly entity type, which is critical in terms of what is entity type. We have one example and one challenge in this also. We'll discuss that in subsequent slide. So entity details we have to put, which is mainly entity type, subtype, and corporate tax period. So corporate tax period is very important, because based on that corporate tax period only we'll have the deadline for the return filings, right? Now corporate tax period, either it shall be as per the MOA. If MOA is silent, then as per the audit report we are taking. The next is identification details. Now, once you complete this, no, once you complete first section and then go into the second section, then the first section will be ticked as a green color, right? And in the second section, it will be appear as a blue color, right? Which is the existing, you are filling that particular section. Identity details, mainly you need to fill the license authority, the license number, legal name in English and Arabic as well. If you have a different trade name, then trade name in English and Arabic. Business activity, owner details, and branch details. Now, owner details having shareholding of more than of 25% or more. So you have to provide the shareholders passport, Emirates ID, and the name of the concerned person, and the business activities as well. Now, as I mentioned, we have to put the owner's details as well, having 25% or more ownership in the entity. And then once we enter all these details, we have to add another owner if there are more than one owners. Keep adding until you reach filling all the details of the owner. Then another section, this is all under identification details. Branch details, we have to put the branch details, because branch is an extension of the main license, so no need to register it separately. So if we have one or more branches, for each branch we have to enter the trade license details, business activities, and owners list as well. Section 3 is contact details. It is mainly just the address of the company. That's it. Just ensure the address should be as per the ijari of the company. If there is a different address which is mentioned as per the VAT registration, either you could amend the VAT registration application and then submit CT registration, or else you submit the CT registration as it is and then make the amendment if you are falling short of time, right? And the deadline is approaching. So enter the registered address details of the business. If you have multiple address, provide details of the place where most of the day-to-day business activities are being carried out, because this is very common. There are two business locations. You have to put the address which is mainly used for day-to-day activities and operations. Next section is authorized signatory details. We have to attach the legal documents of the authorized signatory, and also the evidence of authorization, which could be power of attorney or MOA in case of legal person. So mainly authorized signatory either could be a manager as per the license, shareholder or director of the company. So there must be a legal document substantiating the authorized signatory, right? So you cannot just make any employee of the company as authorized signatory unless there is a document which could be, as I mentioned, power of attorney or even manager in the license or the name in the MOA. Last step is review and declaration. So just review all the relevant information that we have filled, and just tick the box after carefully reviewing all the information. Just mark the checkbox to declare there is we have provided the correct information, and then we will submit the CET registration application to be reviewed by the FTA. As simple as that. So it's not rocket science. The registration is very the first step to for the compliance of CT, and the most important. Just we have to ensure that the documents attached are the latest documents, and the correctness of the information should be there. Specifically, the corporate tax, the financial year, which is very critical. We have to ensure we have put the correct financial year, the address of the business, and the owner's details as well, and legal type. So legal type we'll discuss because there are certain ambiguities with respect to legal type. We'll discuss that in one of the challenges. So post application submission, now we'll wait for the comments from the FTA. Either as we discussed, either they will accept it, reject it, or resubmit it. So once the application is submitted, they will approve, reject, or resubmit, or ask for additional information. So we have to keep a tab on the FTA portal and to check the status of the application on the dashboard. It will be updated once it is approved by the FTA. So we have to keep a tab on the FTA portal. The registrant also, the email, the specific email ID that you have mentioned should also receive the email from the FTA or any of the actions that FTA has taken, which could be, as I mentioned, rejection or resubmission or acceptance. And you can download the CD registration application from the FTA portal under certificates. Okay. Now moving on to the challenges which we have practically seen during CT registration. The challenges are not, see, CT registration, as I mentioned, it's a very simple process. So challenges are also not or something which cannot be taken care of. The challenges are also very simple. But we should know all these challenges so that when we submit the CT registration, we'll take care of all these challenges and submit the correct information to the FTA. So challenge number one. In section 1 entity type field, we have to mention the same entity type that was mentioned in the VAT registration. So entity type, it is uneditable. We cannot make any amendment. This is uneditable box. So whatever information is pre-populated as per the VAT registration will be appeared in the CT registration as well. In case there is change in the entity's legal status or it was wrongly mentioned in the VAT registration application, then we have to deregister the VAT and apply for a fresh application with the correct legal status and proceed with the CT registration. Now, this is a very burdensome process now. So, because there is an argument why FT has approved the VAT registration at that point of time in 2017 or 2018 for that matter. And now they are asking to re-register because the legal type is not correct. For example, there are a lot of cases wherein sole establishment, they have put legal type as a juridical person because there are different legal person, right? As per the tab of the FTA portal. So we'll discuss that in the next slide. What legal person we need to choose. It should be very, we need to carefully analyze that and choose that legal person. In case the legal person that we have chosen is incorrect at the time of VAT registration, despite of the fact, of course, FT has approved it, it doesn't matter. But we have to make the change now. We have to apply for the deregistration and simultaneously start the fresh application with the correct legal status. I know this is a burdensome process, but this is one-time exercise. We should, I mean, do this and even encourage the taxable person, all the companies. We are encouraging our clients to do the process because this is one-time process. I mean, there is no other option, right? So there is an example: a foreign company, ABC LLP, involved in trading goods, has opened a branch in Dubai, which will become permanent establishment, which comes under non-resident person. At the time of applying for VAT registration, they mention legal status as incorporated, which is not correct and accepted by FTA. The actual status is branch of a foreign company, which the legal person would be foreign company for that, for this particular company. However, still there is ambiguity, as I mentioned. Branch of a foreign company could be a resident person or could be a non-resident person or a foreign company, right? But in this case, let's say this is a case of foreign company. The branch is come under the definition of foreign company and all the conditions are being met. So the company ABC LLP, they have chosen incorrect legal type. They have chosen legal person incorporated. Instead of, they should have chosen a foreign company. But FT has accepted that. This is the problem. But now we don't have any option. The branch should deregister and reapply for the VAT with the correct legal status. After it's done, apply for the corporate tax. So this is what we need to do. So that's why we are always recommending to start the process ASAP for VAT registration, because there regularization needs to be done. Regularization means amendment in the existing FTA portal needs to be done before we submit the CT registration, right? So these are the legal person. You will be able to see the following list of entity types and respective subtypes in the application. So we have to choose very, very carefully. And this is right now is uneditable. We cannot do any amendment. We cannot do edit of this. So this is the issue. We had a discussion with the FTA concerned person, and they are in the process. And this is going to be editable, or amendment option shall be provided for this change as well. Because this is, I mean, it's a very basic thing that they should have provided the editable version, editable tab or the amendment procedure for this incorrect or errors as well. But let's see. I mean, I hope it should be sorted and we will have the editable tab or the amendment process for this legal person amendment as well. So these types are available and we have to choose very, very carefully. UAE public joint stock company, UAE private company, UAE partnership, foreign company, wherein the branch of a permanent establishment mainly for non-resident person, we need to opt for foreign company. And for natural person, it's simple. It's individual or sole proprietorship or maybe other if applicable. Okay, let's move on to challenge number 2. So while filing out the CT application form, there are few fields that are auto-populated, such as address of the company. If there is a contrast between the data auto-populating from VAT and actual data, then we must amend the VAT registration. And once it's done, we need to proceed with CT registration, right? So this is known as I mentioned, we need to do 2 action steps for CT registration. First, regularization of the FT portal. What is regularization? It means submission of amendment documents on the FTA portal. This amendment application must be approved by the FTA and then only CT registration application could be submitted. Now, amendment could be done for change in address or change in owners, authorized signatory, etc. As I mentioned, change in legal type cannot be amended since it is a restricted type, right? So whatever changes are there, I mean, we have to be proactive. If we have a deadline, let's say of October 2024 to submit the CT registration, we have to act now because there might be a regularization needs to be done. There might be amendment needs to be done, and amendment takes time to be approved by the FTA. So let's start the regularization, and then step 2 is submitting the corporate tax registration application. Because amendment takes time, sometimes we have experienced like 30 days or 45 days FTA is taking to approve the amendment application, and it is at the discretion of the FTA. So let's be proactive and submit the CT registration on time. So there's an example: company P involved in rendering IT services has not updated the current address of the company in VAT, and the same was auto populated in the CT registration. So the company should amend the address in VAT and proceed with the CT registration. As simple as that. Challenge number three is about business activities categorization. Although business activity categorization, we cannot find the exact category of the industry, but we have to be very careful while selecting the business activity from the drop down list. So it includes industry, the main industry, then main group and subgroup, business activities and code. So there are five tabs of this particular category. So we have to be very careful while selecting. I know the business industry or these categories are not showing or displaying on the CT registration certificate, but still it is our responsibility to provide the correct information to the extent possible, right? I mean, because as I mentioned, there is no specific business activities which will match with the FTA pre-populated one, but the closest one we have to match, right? So company Y is involved in electrical installation business. In this case, the company has to select business activity as follows. So electrical installation, it comes under the industry of construction. Main group, specialized construction activities, and subgroup there is electrical MEP, electrical plumbing and other construction installation activity, and business activities electrical installation. Because there are a lot of activities in the tab, so we have to choose the right one. Challenge number four. If a legal person holds 25% or more of the shareholding of the company registered in the UAE, we have to give the details of the legal person. Yeah, this is a practical problem. Until now, it has not been resolved as per my knowledge. So in case the ownership is of the corporate shareholding, right, and which is more than 25%, of course, then only we have to give the disclosure. And legal person, now there is a legal person details we have to provide, right, which is in a foreign entity, legal foreign juridical person. I mean, the legal person owner is a foreign entity, not in the UAE. It's not a local entity, it's a foreign entity. Now we have to provide all the details of the foreign entity, including the authority, which authority they are registered with. In such cases, there is no option for the foreign authorities. I mean, the only options available are UAE authorities, which could be mainland or all the free zones in the UAE, right? Now, in such cases, what we have done, and we have got the success also, we are stating the same authority of the company which is in the UAE, of the subsidiary in short, right? So in this case, I'll just read it out. We are not able to upload the trade license and update the license issuing authority, as the options available are only for UAE authorities. The FTA would reject such an application due to inconsistent information. However, we have observed currently that FTA has been accepting the application if we give foreign entity registration number and update the license issuing authority as per the subsidiary details along with the trade license of the subsidiary. So it is, I mean, there is no other option. We have to choose the same authority which is of the subsidiary, because there is no option given on the FTA portal for the foreign entity. Example: company XYZ is involved in trading FMCG products. The shareholding pattern of the company is as follows: 30% foreign entity ABC LLC, 70% natural person. Natural person is okay. We can provide all the details of the natural person. Now 30% foreign entity, we have to provide the trade license details and the owners and the authority details as well of the foreign jurisdiction. Now, while filing out the ownership details in the city registration form, it asks to upload the commercial license of the foreign entity along with the name of the issuing authority. Okay, license we will upload, certificate of incorporation or whatever the license document of that foreign entity in that country which is available, will attach that. Now, name of the issuing authority we cannot provide because there is no pre-populated list of the foreign issuing authority. Now, but the foreign entity does not hold any UAE trading license, and the drop-down list gives the list of only UAE authorities, right? In the given case, company XYZ has to update the license issuing authority as per the subsidiary details along with the trade license of the subsidiary, which means company XYZ is in, let's say, mainland. So we will give the mainland as a authority name for foreign entity for ABC LLC. Last challenge we'll discuss quickly, which is for natural person. Recently, yeah, this is actually for the rejection case that I just mentioned. A natural person not crossing the threshold limit of 1 million cannot voluntarily apply for CT registration. But still, if he applies, then this application will be rejected by the FT. And this is just a screenshot we have attached for your reference. I know it is difficult to read, but yes, I think it is readable. Yeah, so FT officer has given the notes of the rejection, why they have rejection. They have mentioned, does the total, third point, which is important, does the total turnover derived from your business or business activities exceed 1 million? Now, this 1 million is not for the previous year. This is till now, till at the time of the application of the CT registration. And we have the timeline of natural person till 31st March 2024, within 6 months from the end of the financial year, as we discussed. So we will wait till the, I mean, January, once we have the turnover for the entire year, and then we should submit the registration application for all the natural person. But we have submitted the application for few of our clients, and we have got the resubmission, and we have again, provided our comments that from the last 10 years the company is being operational, and from the last 10 years the company, I mean, not company, the sole establishment natural person is having the turnover of more than 1 million. So we would like to register it now, to kindly grant us the registration certificate. So we have just tried that. Let's see whether they will grant the approval or not in this case. Also, there is one challenge with respect to this only that we have faced practically. I would like to share with you. There is a guide on the VAT with respect to sole establishment, which was issued, if I'm not wrong, in the year 2021, or maybe 2020 or 2021. I cannot recollect that, which is on sole establishment, which states that there should be a single VAT registration for all the natural person. If one natural person is having 10 companies, there should be one application, right? But how about the companies which are already registered as a separate? There are three companies of the same person, and they have registered separately before 2020, right? In that sole establishment guide or public clarification, they have mentioned all the applications which has been approved before this particular issuance of this guide shall not be required to be deregistered unless it is directed by the FTA. If you read their guide, right? So we have similar case wherein there is one natural person having three, four, five salons, and they have registered separately before 2020. They got the registration this came into effect, this particular guide of sole establishment. Now they have already registered. They have three separate TRN for VAT, right? Now, what is the solution for corporate tax? Can we apply the corporate tax separately? First question. Or second, we need to apply a one application. But if we apply one application, they have a linking. They will easily track that this particular company, there are three TRN. So they are rejecting such applications. So what we did, we opened new portal. I mean, new portal and new login, and we applied one corporate tax registration of all these three companies. But in their system, they can easily verify that these are, I mean, they have three TRN separately, but they are using different login. So they rejected that application stating these reasons, that you cannot open another login details for the existing that registration. So what we did then, out of these three companies, wherein three sole establishment are registered separately, in one of the portal, in one of the login, we tried to register all these three in one. So this is the best solution we could find, and we are now waiting for the FTA's approval. However, if they will reject the application, then the only solution is we have to deregister one, and then amend another application and make it as a group, and then apply for CT registration as a group. So that was I mean, that is the last option on a very burdensome process. But yes, because if they will reject, then it would be directed by the FTA to deregister as per the sole establishment guide of VAT. So yeah, there are quite good number of practical experience for CT registration as well. So obligation after CT registration, we have to file the return and pay the taxes within 9 months of the end of their tax period. We have to retain all the documents, records, and to calculate calculation of the taxable income, adjusted taxable income, and all the documents which would support the tax position for a period of 7 years following the end of the tax period. So for 2024 till 2031, right? So 7 years we have to record all the documents and keep retain all the documents, because audit can commence anytime within the period of 7 years, and ensure all registration details are up to date, and we have to do and make the amendments within 20 business days wherever any amendment takes place.